Hey everyone. Today I want to talk to you about the power of purpose. So the goal of this video is for you to leave here today understanding the power that purpose can have in your life. But before we get there, there are a couple of other things we need to talk about. The first deals with why people don't activate their purpose. And I think there's several reasons for that. The first is that purpose is misunderstood. Many people think that purpose is this huge overarching thing that applies to successful people, people like Oprah Winfrey. But they don't apply to me in my little daily life. And they don't understand that purpose doesn't have to be huge in order to be significant. Having a job and providing for your family is a significant purpose. Raising your children to be wonderful, contributing members of society, responsible people, is a tremendous purpose. Not only that, but it's a tremendous undertaking. So purpose doesn't have to be huge in order to be significant. The second thing is that I think that purpose is overdone. Purpose is an overused word. Sarah Santa Croce, my dear friend who wrote the foreword to my new book, Purpose-Driven Achievement, said in the opening to her foreword that she was very frustrated with the word purpose because people would bring up the word purpose and say, oh, you need to find your purpose in life, but no one was telling her how. What kind of a process do you follow? What do you do to find your purpose? I started working on purpose-driven achievement over a year ago. And as I did, I went onto Amazon and I did a search to see how many books that are out there that talk about the subject of purpose. And I found that there were over 150,000 books dealing with the subject of purpose. So many of you are probably saying now, well, with that many books out there, how could you be so stupid as to write yet another book on purpose? Well, I'm an engineer and I love statistics. And so I went out and I started looking at other things. And I realized that of all the people, thousands upon thousands of people who have been surveyed, 80% of people say that they're not happy with their life and their life's work. And so I balanced those two things and said, wait a minute, there's 150,000 books out there teaching people how to find and activate on their purpose, and yet 80% of people say that they're not happy and fulfilled in their lives. If that's the case, someone has missed the boat. And I wrote Purpose-Driven Achievement to close that gap, to not only help people discover what purpose is and to find their own unique purpose, but then to help them put the systems in place to get them from where they are to where they want to be. And that's really, really critical. But I think that purpose is an overused word that people tend to sort of poo-poo. The third thing is that finding your purpose takes a lot of self-examination, and that's something that we as human beings are not really good at for a couple of reasons. Number one, we have difficulty getting in front of the mirror and being open and honest and transparent with ourselves about what's going on in our lives. We don't like to face those things. But beyond that, when we do face things and we realize that there are shortfalls between who we are and who we need to become and where we are and where we want to go, we tend to get out a stick and beat ourselves briskly about the head and shoulders and be very, very critical of ourselves, when what we should be doing is looking at our lives through the lens of no judgment. It is what it is. Now, what am I going to do to change it? And finally, we have to realize that finding your purpose is not easy. It takes work. Sometimes it takes very, very hard work, and we have to be willing to put the effort in. But there are two other things that come into play here, and that is two fears that each one of us must confront. I call them FOF and FOP, the fear of failure and the fear of people. We look at things and we say, well, gee, what happens if I discover a purpose and I start working on it and I fail? Well, try something else. Well, what if I fail at that? Try something else. I use a formula called PDCAR, and that says plan, do, check, adjust, repeat. So you plan what you're going to do. You do it. And then you look at it and you check yourself and say, are the actions I'm taking heading me in the right direction? And if they aren't, let's make some adjustments and then let's repeat the process. And we do that until we're successful. The final thing is FOP, and that's the fear of people. We're afraid of what other people are going to say if we announce that we're going on this journey to pursue something really tremendously worthwhile in our lives. We're afraid that we're going to be rejected by those people, or that they're going to try to hold us back, or that they're going to make fun of us. And my response to that is, who cares? Do what you have to do. Find your calling and pursue it. So with that, let's jump over and let's talk about another subject, and that is, what is purpose? A lot of people will come up with all of these esoteric definitions for purpose, but for me, purpose is very simple. It seeks to answer one question. What is it that I want my life to count for? In the final analysis, when I'm dead and in the ground, what kind of impact in life do I want to have had? And not just financially. It's not just a matter of what kind of a financial legacy do you want to leave, but what kind of a spiritual legacy do you want to leave? What kind of an emotional legacy and a mental legacy do you want to leave for those people you care most about in your life? That's what purpose is all about. I also believe that there are two types of purpose, and I think each one of us has both. The first is a global purpose. Whether we choose to activate it or not, I think that each one of us as human beings, really down deep inside, if we're gut level honest with ourselves, wants the world to be a little bit better because we've lived. In the movie about Steve Jobs that starred Ashton Kutcher, at the end of the movie, he's sitting in the boardroom at Apple Computer with just his board chairman and the corporate attorney. And the corporate attorney turns to Steve after he's let go his entire board of directors, and he says, "Okay, Steve, what are we going to do now?" And Steve sits back and smiles, and he says, "We're going to make a dent in the universe." Every single person, I believe, wants to make that little unique dent in the universe. So that becomes our global purpose. But then each one of us has a unique individual purpose. And for me, what that means is that we have to find out what we're passionate about, and we have to combine our passion with our skills and abilities, and perhaps develop some new skills and abilities in order to be able to add value to the world that we live in, to our sphere of influence. And when we do that, we begin to understand and activate our unique purpose. So with that, what really is the power of purpose? Well, for me, initially, I think about how it creates a much larger view of life for us. Because so many people just live day to day. We're right here, we're right in front of ourselves, and that's the way we live our lives. But when we begin to look at the bigger picture, when we begin to develop a purpose, all of a sudden we're looking way out here. And that broadens our horizons, and it changes the way we view the world. Ellie Goldratt wrote a book a number of years ago called The Goal. And he said in The Goal, he actually asked the question, what is the goal of every business? And someone said, well, the goal of every business is to make money. And Ellie said, is that it? And the person said, well, yeah. And he said, no. He said, the goal of every business is to make money now and in the future. Because if you're focused on making money now, you may not be focused on the things that are important to keep you going down the line. On the other hand, if you're focused strictly on the future, the decisions that you're making today may not allow you to get there. And so we have to have both a long-term and a short-term view. We have to be looking at today, but we have to be planning and achieving into tomorrow. And it doesn't make any difference whether you're in business or whether you're just dealing with your own personal life. That principle applies. And so having a purpose gives you the ability to look longer and still stay focused somewhat on today. The other thing is that when we start looking at things like that, our life takes on a new meaning. We feel much more a part of the things that are going on in our world, and we have the confidence that we can make an impact in life. And when we do that is when we begin to truly experience joy and fulfillment in what we do. And after all, isn't that what it's all about? Don't we not only want to accomplish things in life, but don't we want to be happy Don't we want to be fulfilled? Don't we want to be joyful? If you'll find and activate your purpose, I promise you that's what will happen for you. God bless you. I'll see you next time.